West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy with Chef Justice Putnam. Netrootsradio.com.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma fleur sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte.
Well, Donald Trump can't stop emailing me. Just emailed me again. Just about an hour and a half ago. This one really urgent. Email says breaking, like breaking news. And it is from it says it's the only official emails from Donald J. Trump, or from this email right here. It's right on my phone. It says breaking. The Democrats broke into the home of President Donald J. Trump. Here it is. I think we can put it up on the screen, this email that I just got. It's to me, it's a very personal email. It says, Lawrence, the radical left is corrupt. This is your chance to stand with President Trump. Please rush in a donation immediately to publicly stand with President Trump against this never-ending witch hunt. This is to one of my many email addresses. It's actually my least used email address, which somehow the Trump email managers have found. And they are suggesting, once again, same contribution they suggested last night. They're suggesting $45. I figure that's what I'm good for on this deal, is $45. But, there is that problem deadline. It was right there on the screen. You could see it. The deadline, which is right under the $45 suggestion, the deadline is immediately. Now, I am bad with any deadline, but immediately, that is just no kind of deadline that I can work with. And so they'll keep spending their email budget, sending emails to me to raise money for Donald Trump to do what? Do what with it? What's he going to do with it? And he's raising money because the FBI raided his home. The FBI raids his home, and they do it secretly. The FBI tells no one. Donald Trump's response is to tell everyone. That's how we know it. And then to rush out emails raising money on the fact that the FBI executed a search warrant at his home. We've had 48 hours of public comment since the FBI surprised Donald Trump by executing that search warrant at his Florida home. And we will now present to you every single Republican statement about that search warrant that is true. So here are all of the Republican statements about the Trump search warrant that are true. Sorry. None. Not one. I would happily sit at this desk and read to you every true statement by any Republican anywhere about the Trump search warrant, if there were any. There is not a single true statement made by a Republican about the search warrant. Now, in fairness, most Republican members of Congress have managed to say absolutely nothing about it. Republican Senator Mitt Romney is typical. The Salt Lake Tribune reports that Senator Mitt Romney did not respond to requests seeking comment. But every Republican who hopes to be president someday has had something to say about it, including Yale Law School graduate Senator Joshua Hawley and Harvard Law School graduate Senator Rafael Cruz. Senator Cruz called the FBI partisan attack dogs for Democrats. That was his phrase, without mentioning that the FBI Director Christopher Wray is a Republican appointed by Donald Trump. Senator Cruz simply lied about the search warrant and the FBI. Senator Hawley offered a childish comment that Merrick Garland must resign or be impeached and that Christopher Wray must be removed from office. And Senator Hawley said something that has been echoed by other Republicans. Senator Hawley said, quote, "The search warrant must be published." The Republican demand that the search warrant be made public was described as deafening by a CNN reporter online. Deafening. And not one of those Republicans is demanding that Donald Trump reveal what the FBI took from his home. Donald Trump was given a receipt of sorts for what was taken by the FBI. He could make that public right now and satisfy the deafening demands by Republicans to reveal the purpose of the FBI search warrant. Donald Trump has chosen to lie about the search instead, suggesting that the FBI planted evidence that they will now claim they found there. Now that got instantly embraced by the most craven Trump worshipers like Senator Rand Paul and everyone at the Fox propaganda channel. Donald Trump knows what the FBI found. Donald Trump knows that what they found includes evidence that may be so incriminating to him that he might want to assert the defense that the FBI planted that evidence in his home. Donald Trump must also know that the paperwork that the FBI left for him at his home would not be helpful to his public defense and his public fundraising if he made that document public as he could. And there is no deafening demand from Republicans that Donald Trump reveal everything that he knows about the search of his home by the FBI. Tonight, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that an informant helped guide the FBI's search of Donald Trump's home. The Wall Street Journal reports, quote, "Someone familiar with the stored papers told investigators there may still be more classified documents at the private club after the National Archives retrieved 15 boxes earlier in the year. People familiar with the matter said." And Justice Department officials had doubts that the Trump team was being truthful regarding what material remained at the property, one person said. 2 months ago, just 2 months ago, on June 3rd, Jay Bratt, a national security specialist at the Justice Department, and 3 FBI agents had a meeting at Mar-a-Lago with Trump lawyers to discuss government records that appeared to be in a basement storage room. A few days later, Jay Bratt sent an email to the Trump lawyers saying that a stronger lock should be installed on that storage room door. We don't know what happened between then and now, but the next thing that we publicly knew is that the FBI served a search warrant for those documents on Monday. This is how Donald Trump described today what happened on Monday. The FBI and others from the federal government would not let anyone, including my lawyers, be anywhere near the areas that were rummaged and otherwise looked at during the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Everyone was asked to leave the premises. They wanted to be left alone without any witnesses to see what they were doing, taking, or hopefully not planting. Why did they strongly insist on having nobody watching them, everybody out?
It is Thursday, the 11th of August of 2022, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam. Gunner the English Bulldog is our snoozing sous chef, and our daily special is Metro Shrimp and Grits Thursdays, a little bit of jambalaya, a little bit of spice in your life. Well, getting spicy out there for Donnie Trump, eh? 440 times he invoked the Fifth Amendment, and that's a lot of fifths. I've actually suggested that every time someone pleads the fifth, they have to drink a fifth until they spill the beans, until they give it up. Tell us what we want to know. And that will actually cut down on the amount of times people take the fifth. Trust me. No one can do that. And if they're precluded from, I don't know, drinking alcohol because of a substance abuse problem or mixing it with some other substance that might be regularly put into their body, that's too bad. You do it to women all the time, okay? And now you're going to get a little bit of karma coming back at you. No, karma's, I guess karma works like that. Just remember, karma is neither good nor bad. It just is karma. Okay, got that out of the way. Anyway, what's going to happen here? Because Trump is... I gotta say, he's acting like they're never gonna divulge what they gave me a list for and what they have, because some of it's so top secret they can't even tell each other what it is. That's how a mobster thinks. You'll see. And I don't know. Was he selling new secrets to North Korea? Love letters. We went over that a few days ago. I mean, heck. Some of us thought right off the top, he's selling secrets to the highest bidder, whoever it might be. It could be MBS. It could be Xi. It could be Un. It could, obviously everybody thinks Vlad. That's why Trump always goes, it's the Russian hoax, because he's thinking, they only think I'm doing it with Russia. Vlad's a hardballer. I can get what I want with other people. Come on. There's a reason why there's not a Moscow Trump Tower. Because it's a carrot and a stick. Pretty soon it's going to be a turnip, Donnie. I actually saw also, and I would suggest that we do this. You better start monitoring heliports, jet airways. This guy's going to try to scoot out of town. All right. I heard that the New York Attorney General is going to attempt to impose the, quote, death penalty on all Trump businesses, including all of his golf courses. So I guess he's got to move to the United Arab Emirates because they got some pretty good golf courses there. No water. Not surface stuff very well. They can drill down for it, but you know what's going to happen? Get a little bit of saline in there and you're in big trouble. And I'm not talking just about the golf courses. No. Look, some people have priorities like, potable, drinkable water. If you don't have any people who are alive to take care of the golf courses, come on. That's why this guy is, I think, he's going to be shown the door. He may have outstayed his welcome. We'll see. Because there's only so much they can divulge in terms of espionage. My God. Well, we all said he was an asset, right? Remember that? Kind of jokingly, but we thought, what if it was true? I remember thinking that when we found out that Ivana's dad was KGB. I mean, come on. Some people have speculated maybe it was Ivana that did it. No, I don't think so. I don't think Jared did either. Melania? Melania? Maybe. But I don't think so. No, I think it might be somebody in maybe it's the Secret Service detail. I don't know. who I don't know, maybe professed fealty to Trump on bended knee, and he was benighted, or she. But maybe they were there for a little bit of wiretapping investigations. You never know. I still want to know what Lavrov and Kislyak got in the Oval Office when they were doing the jig. They were doing a Russian jig in the Oval Office. That's almost as bad as that, Trump over there with the oil Saudis touching that globe, that glowing globe. That was weird. I mean, the sword dance was weird enough, but touching that globe with that weird, I don't know, backlit illumination, it was kind of scary to me. Very scary. But, hey, we are where we are because about 73 million people think that that's just perfectly okay. Sell out America to keep all these liberal commies from taking over America. I love how they call us the extreme left. You have to be pretty damn extreme right to think that we, who really just, we like interstate highways, we're Eisenhower-type policy Democrats. Come on. Jeez. We come from the days of Mondale. Can't get more bland than that. Middle America, too. Jeez. Good jobs. Good food. Good times. Can't we have that back again? Well, since we're the extreme leftists, can you believe it? Oh, God. Are we going to turn out like the Weimar Republic? Just roll over because of, I don't know, age or inattentiveness? Maybe, maybe not. But, they got a lot of guns. And it seems like the people who manufacture them are on their side. That's a scary proposition. Yeah, well, you just try to match the armory that we have. Well, I don't think we really have to. All right. There may be a few in various levels of our military and, dare I say, law enforcement who adhere to, the constitutional representative democracy, and we like it like that. And when it comes to punching Nazis, we've proved pretty good at it. And if you don't read your history, we were able to handle it before in these great United States of America. And we'll do it again. Try it. Donnie and all his crew are trying it. The Republican Party is really a party of nihilism. Let's just throw away. We don't want those mud people taking over. All of this is because we let the black guy win. Let the black guy? We elected the black guy twice. Okay? And we have to go through this because I think were they primed for this? Yeah. I love how quickly they want to have a civil war, too. Oh, they served a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, well, We told you this guy was willing to sell out America, and for bottom-feeding dollars, too. You know, if it was some sort of exalted price, I could understand. But this guy's a bottom feeder. He doesn't pay his subcontractors for installing the chandeliers in the lobbies of his hotels. Give me a break. Jeez. He's such a great businessman. Oh, you mean he cheats his subcontractors and doesn't pay them? And then when they say, pay me, he files a lawsuit that's going to cost them more than what they would get back. And then, you know, get blacklisted or whatever he does. Break a few legs. That's the kind of guy he is. Do you think those goons, those big old goons that he has walking around telling people, oh, yeah, nice life you got there. Be ashamed if something happened to it, wouldn't it? Be a shame. Give me a break. He wasn't going around with using those types of goons to, negotiate peacefully and fairly. No, they're leg breakers. And he wanted to carry that kind of stuff into the presidency, and he did. I love how quickly some in law enforcement and the military, are so quick to join that side. What is it? Regimentation? They like the regimentation? Oh, yeah, I like that regimentation. We're all goose-stepping at the same time. Oh, yeah. We have a moral code. Goose-step moral code. God. Okay, well, we do have that curated part of the show, which we always use to get out of this aimless rant. Aimless? Maybe. Well, we do have that curated part of the show, so why don't we tell you what it is? You've been cued in already, but we're going to remind you. Lindsey Graham is pulling out all the stops to quash his subpoena in the Georgia election probe. As we start off here in the Bistro Cafe, part of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Lower prices are offering Americans a slight reprieve from inflation. I like to call it price gouging, but, you know, they're not gouging as much. And an Arizona county where the August 2 primary election was beset with multiple issues. Oh, what might those be? Well, they will waive the cost for running municipal elections in 11 cities and towns. After the break, we move to the chef's table where water levels on the Rhine River could reach a critically low point in the coming days, making it increasingly difficult to transport goods. And the leaders of Estonia and Finland want their fellow European countries to stop issuing tourist visas to Russian citizens. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. Near the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com, to the right of the page is the chat room link. The chat room monitored by Kelly Lincoln, by the way, who will be attending in person, first time in 2 years, Netroots Nation 22. So stay tuned for some great content of Netroots Nation 22 from Pittsburgh, brought to you by the great Kelly Lincoln. Stay tuned. If you would look across the page from that chat room link near the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com, you will then notice, You will notice the link to our Patreon page and become a recurring Patreon of Netroots Radio, please. If you could afford to send us what you might spend on an espresso-type coffee drink just once a month, that really helps us pay our bills. Yeah, prices aren't going down for us, unfortunately, so we have needed help, and thank you for your help. It has been greatly appreciated over these, over 11 years now, going on 12. My God. Who knew? Anyway, thank you for your generosity. It helps us fulfill our civic duty, and we're not kidding. As the founders originally intended, so many years ago. And it was their intent, too. You got to remember what their intent was. Alrighty, if you would like to follow Netroots Radio on Twitter, you can do so at Netroots Radio. Tom takes care of that and a lot more. Thanks, Tom. Follow me on Twitter at Justice Putnam. As the monster trucks drive by, I'm reminded that 10 minutes before showtime, the diary on Daily Co's that I put in queue, that has all the show notes and links for the day's shows, can be found that way, and you can find those by following me on Twitter, because if I don't actually put the links up, you can at least go to the general page, and there they are. Follow the show on Twitter at Cookbook West and pick up podcasts by way of Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, iTunes, etc., etc., etc. Kind of notice from Apple Podcasts, they got some sort of, and it's good. It's a security verification thing that we got to change. So, gotta look into that. Yeah. And I keep making the mistake on getting on Audible. We'll get there. Okay. I keep putting in links, type things in the wrong cell. I don't know. What are you going to do? Okay. What we are going to do at this very moment is tuck into this first offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Metro Shrimp and Grist Thursdays, by the way. Recipe on the Daily Cuz Diary, just so you know. Okay, Kate Brumback of the Associated Press brings us this first offering. Prosecutors in Atlanta said they need a special grand jury to hear from Lindsey Graham because he may be able to provide insight into the extent of any coordinated efforts to influence the results of the 2020 general election in Georgia. Fulton County Chief Senior Assistant District Attorney Donald Wakeford made that argument yesterday, Wednesday, during a federal court hearing on a request by Graham to quash his subpoena. Brian Lee, an attorney for Graham, argued that Graham's position as a senator protects him from having to appear before the special grand jury in the investigation into whether Trump and his allies committed crimes as they sought to overturn his narrow election loss in Georgia. Advising consent clause. We'll see how that works for a crook. Graham's attorneys, including Don McGahn, that guy who ran out that clock with Mueller, who served as White House counsel under Trump, successfully moved the issue of whether the subpoena should be quashed from Fulton County Superior Court to federal court. U.S. District Judge Leigh Martin May said she hopes to issue a ruling tomorrow, Friday, but that it might take her until Monday to decide whether Graham should have to testify. Christopher Rugeber of the Associated Press brings us this next offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Metro Shrimp and Grist Thursdays. Falling prices for gas, airline tickets, and clothes gave Americans a little bit of relief last month, though overall inflation is still running at close to its highest level in 4 decades. Consumer prices jumped 8.5% in July compared with a year earlier. The government said yesterday, Wednesday, down from a 9.1% year-over-year increase in June. On a monthly basis, prices were unchanged from June to July, the first time that has happened after 25 months of increases. So that's something good. You know, if Biden keeps failing like this, we are really going to make this country great again. I kid. We already are great, and Biden's helping. The report offered welcome news for congressional Democrats and President Joe Biden. Heading into the midterm elections, Biden highlighted the flat monthly inflation figure. I just want to say a number 0, he told reporters. Today we received news that our economy has 0% inflation in the month of July. And of course, Republicans conflated that to say, he said inflation is over. No, he never said that at all, but you guys are lying snots. Stop it. Republicans who have made inflation a top campaign issue and made sure that there was a lot of price gouging to make it look like it was inflation, in this reporter's opinion, you know that. Stress that prices are still painfully high. Yeah. Texas GOP Rep Kevin Brady highlighted grocery costs and said, Americans continue to struggle under President Biden's cruel economy with shrinking paychecks, a shrinking economy, and a shrinking workforce. 1 million dead from COVID, and you guys are still nonchalantly roaming around like nothing is wrong and people are dying like flies? Give me a break, you ghoul. The reprieve offered no certainty that prices would stay on the decline because, after all, this is a journalistic piece here, and they have to say this. Inflation has slowed in the recent past, only to reaccelerate in subsequent months. And even if price increases continue to weaken, they are a long way from the Fed's 2% annual target. West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy is out of the Associated Press by Bob Christie. An Arizona county where the August 2nd primary election was beset with multiple issues that led to the firing of its election director will waive the cost for running municipal elections in 11 cities and towns and plans to hire an outside election expert to review what went wrong. The 5-member Pinal County Board of Soups voted unanimously yesterday, Wednesday, to waive more than $100,000 in costs it planned to bill the cities and towns for running the local elections. Several cities and towns had local races left off early ballots that required the county to mail about 63,000 supplemental ballots. Then County Attorney Kent Volkmer told the board that 4 other municipalities were affected by Election Day missteps that led to ballot shortages at about 20 of the county's 95 polling places. As the county manager clearly indicated, we fell below the expectations of our customers. Volkmer told the board. Customers? So I believe if this board is so inclined, I think this is a good cause to waive for all the various entities that we serve the municipal and town elections for. I think that's a good idea due to the issues at hand, Board Chair Jeffrey McClure said in an accent that just came out of thin air. Last week, McClure had called the election issues a major screw-up, and Elections Director Derek Frisk was fired the next day, I guess because he was too frisky. He had just been hired in March. Oh, he was a little frisky then. All right. Fire the new guy. Volkmer also said he was close to hiring an outside election expert to conduct a review. Just don't let it be the ninjas. Please. He said there was so far no sign of any criminal violations, but that bringing in someone from outside would ensure that an unbiased assessment would be swiftly completed. He said if any sign of criminal activity were found, the county sheriff would be called in to investigate. Is that a good idea? The expert, who Volkmer did not publicly identify, has almost 30 years as an elections administrator, had done similar reviews, and is known to both new elections director Virginia Ross and the new county recorder Dana Lewis. Ross was the elected recorder until she resigned last week to take over the elections department. Lewis was her assistant. The board appointed her on Friday to take over as recorder, which handles voter rolls and mail ballots, but is not involved with voting or ballot counting. All right, let's get to our break, and when we get back from that break, we will go through weather from around the world, and we will finish up with the stories that we have curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and we will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is Scientific American's 60-Second Science. I'm Karen Hopkin. It's great to have friends, especially if you're an Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin, because new research shows that the males who were the most popular with the lads are also the most successful with the ladies. Researchers describe how these affable marine mammals maintain and leverage their complex social connections in a pair of papers in the journal Current Biology.
Male dolphins form lifelong cooperative relationships.
Stephanie King of the University of Bristol. She's been studying the dolphin population that inhabits Shark Bay, a UNESCO World Heritage Site off the coast of Western Australia.
By studying populations like the Shark Bay dolphins for many years, we start to see the complex ways that they maintain their important social relationships.
These connections are more than just casual acquaintanceships. They're crucial for the dolphins to be able to fend off rivals and secure mates.
When navigating their social world, it is those males that are more adept at building strong friendships that are ultimately more successful.
So, what do these aquatic alliances look like?
In Shark Bay, every male dolphin is embedded in a social network consisting of 4 to 14 males.
Livia Gerber of the University of New South Wales, Sydney.
These 4 to 14 males are also known as second-order alliances, and they are the core social unit of the male bottlenose dolphins in Shark Bay.
This dolphin party consists of unrelated individuals of a similar age that remain together for decades. Now, When one of these dolphins is looking for love, he'll select one or two wingmen, or maybe fin pals, from this larger posse to help him find a fertile female.
Well, it was previously known that males have to cooperate in order to sire offspring in Shark Bay. It wasn't known which male is the most successful one.
Is it the male with the most experience? The one with the largest territory? Or is there something about the bromance that holds the key to reproductive success?
To answer this question, I therefore looked at the genetic profiles of more than 400 dolphins in Shark Bay and carried out paternity tests.
Once she identified the daddies, she could determine what quality they shared.
I was quite surprised by the results because they were contrasting to so many other species where the oldest males sire most offspring or the males with the largest territories. As opposed to what we see in these other species, male bottlenose dolphins that have the strongest social bonds and multiple strong social bonds, so the most popular males, sire most offspring.
Gerber says that the males with more friends are likely more often invited to cruise for females, giving them more opportunities for cooperative canoodling. Okay, so dolphins do better on group dates. But how do they establish and maintain these critical friendships?
Through physical contact, much like hugging or holding hands in humans.
Or like grooming in other primates, like chimps or monkeys.
Where individuals will devote a lot of time and energy into grooming their closest friends to strengthen those relationships.
Emma Shreskin of the University of Bristol. She says the problem with all this physical interaction is there's only so many hours in a day.
When group sizes become larger, this places a constraint on how much time is available for an individual to devote to grooming key social partners.
Enter the social bonding hypothesis.
In this hypothesis, vocal exchanges can serve as a replacement for grooming to maintain social bonds.
Like us chatting regularly with our circle of friends.
For dolphins, those chats take the form of exchanging signature whistles.
A signature whistle is a vocalization completely unique to each dolphin that functions much like a human name.
That was Kooks, a member of the Alley Cat Alliance. And that's his pal Pimento.
So when they use their signature whistle, they're advertising their identity to those around them as a way to maintain group cohesion.
So Shreskin set out to determine which dolphins were getting physical and which were more or less phoning it in.
The results were surprising. I had anticipated that the way dolphins use their signature whistles would be akin to how primates do.
For apes and monkeys, chit-chat is more common between besties. But for dolphins?
When we look at just that core alliance group, we see that increased vocal exchanges occur between those with weaker social bonds. So while we do observe that vocal exchanges are indeed occurring between friends rather than strangers, they're occurring between distant friends rather than best friends.
Like Alley Cat's Spirit and Guppy, which Shreskin says kind of makes sense.
I liken these results to living with a partner. So when you live with someone, you typically don't have to call or text them as much because much of your bonding occurs together in your home.
But for friends who are more far-flung, you might be more apt to send a shout-out rather than making the effort to get together to bump fists. Or fins. For Scientific Americans, 60-Second Science, I'm Karen Hopkin.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Hi, it's Tom. Could we humbly suggest your donation
to netrootsradio.com. All we've got to run this 24-hour powerhouse of progressive resistance radio is what comes out of our own wallets. And you are our biggest donor. And it doesn't take much, $3, $5. Just go to the bottom of our netrootsradio.com page and hit our secure donate button. Heck, you can even make a recurring contribution. So donate what you'd like at the bottom of our netrootsradio.com's homepage. Because you are our biggest donor. netrootsradio.com. Together, we are Resistance Radio.
America's stringent system of corporate capitalism keeps carving out new depths of worker exploitation. Take Chick-fil-A, a right-wing, Atlanta-based fast food operation boasting that it follows, quote, biblically based principles. Like slavery? Well, Chick-fil-A hasn't gone quite that biblical yet, but one of its franchises recently pioneered a novel labor compensation innovation that comes close, literally paying some workers chicken feed. This outlet of the $11 billion a year chain called on area residents to staff its new drive-through express. But in lieu of wages, they were offering chicken sandwiches. Join the express team and you'd be paid 5 chicken items per shift. That worked out to less than minimum wage, plus indigestion. What we have here is one more absurd illustration that America's sanctified work ethic is a fraud, an empty promise that you'll get ahead if you just work hard enough, keep your nose to the grindstone, and stay loyal to the corporate order for life, no matter how vacuous. But the game is up, for workers across the economy are now seeking more from life than 50 years of serving the company. They're even organizing anti-workaholism groups like I Don't Want a Career, Rest is Resistance, and the NAP Ministry. But don't mistake this rebellion as mere satire by a few puckish slackers. Today's nationwide shortage of workers, from truck drivers to teachers, is not a momentary economic blip, but a defiant declaration of independence from a form of work that is life-sucking. This is Jim Hightower saying, people are not afraid of hard work, nor averse to long hours, if the task and the cause are worth both time and effort. And worth it is increasingly being measured in higher values than dollars alone, including a sense of purpose, community, respect, fairness, and fun.
After 329 years, the defendant has been exonerated.
I'm Tom Hartman, and this is the Civil Liberties Minute with ACLU attorney Bill Newman.
Elizabeth Johnson Jr. was 22 years old and living in Salem, Massachusetts in 1693 when she was charged with the crime of being a witch, part of anti-witch hysteria of the time. She confessed to the crime and was sentenced to death, received a reprieve, and lived to be 77, but for 329 years, the conviction stood until July 2022, when the Massachusetts legislature passed a law declaring her innocence. A couple lessons here. First, about the reasons Johnson, an innocent person, confessed guilt. Of the 55 women who confessed to the crime of being a witch, none were executed. In contrast, 19 women who pleaded not guilty and went to trial, they were quickly convicted and received the death penalty by hanging. There was a public pressure campaign. Confession avoided potential torture, and the authorities extracting her confession may have exploited a mental disability. One recent positive note. This exoneration came about because of an 8th grade civics class at the North Andover Middle School. Those 8th graders researched her case, learned a lot about government, and then advocated zealously and persistently with their state senator and the governor, and finally, with passage of a bill, won the long overdue exoneration of Elizabeth Johnson Jr.
The Civil Liberties Minute is made possible by the ACLU because democracy and advocacy begin with you, and freedom can't defend itself.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 2013. That was the day a somewhat unexpected new union formed in Bangor, Maine. Local 207 of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers represents lobster fishermen. Lobster fishermen are known for being fiercely independent, so it surprised many when some started talking union. One of those to bring up the early idea of forming a union was Magnus Lane, a fisherman originally from Iceland. There was cause for concern in the Maine lobster industry that year. A glut of lobsters had driven prices down to a 40-year low. At the same time, fuel and bait prices continued to rise. More than 100 lobstermen and women attended that first meeting. They elected officers and settled on bylaws. In a television interview, newly elected local president Rocky Ally explained, "We're the ones who catch the lobster. We should be able to control the price." Over the next year, membership grew to 600 members from up and down the Maine coast. A year after the union was founded, boat captain Julie Eaton explained the importance of the new union in a newspaper interview. She said, "For the first time, we feel like we have a voice. For the first time, we feel hope that we can protect our way of life." While some lobster fishermen support the union, others have organized against unionization. But the union has been able to win some legislative protections. For example, they were able to ensure that lobster fishermen can keep their fishing license while on active military duty. This union continues to chart new waters in the fight for working people in Maine. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show. For more information, go to laborhistoryin2.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on the Twitters at Labor History in 2.
Thank you for accompanying us here to the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy Metro Shrimp and Grits Thursdays. A little bit of jambalaya, a little bit of spice in your life. We always begin, whether from around the world, along the banks of the Rogue River and the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently 58 degrees Fahrenheit, expecting highs in the they say the low to mid-90s. I think it might be a little warmer than that. Abundant sunshine throughout the day with winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Clear skies overnight. Lows in the upper 50s to low 60s. Winds shifting out of the west to 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then we'll have highs tomorrow again in the low to mid-90s, sunny skies, winds out of the west at 5 to 10 miles per hour. We do have an update on coronavirus counts here in Jackson County in the southern part of Oregon. Confirmed cases have now been increased and stand at 492,084, and the deceased, I am sad to note, have increased by 7 since our last count and now stands at 568. Looks like, what kind of pollen? I'm sorry, you got to scroll down to it. Oh, of course, this grass pollen is rated low. Well, I felt something hit me a little bit earlier. Anyway, right outside the window here in Rogue River, that is supposedly the predominant pollen, and it is low, grass pollen being that. And the air quality index for the region, and I can attest that it is good, at 29 parts per million. And that daytime UV index has notched back up into the very high range at level 8. Barometric pressure is holding steady at 30.09 inches. Visibility is up to 10 miles. And relative humidity is at 87%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that crowdsources from around the world. London is 90 degrees and sunny with a heat advisory. Paris is 93 degrees Fahrenheit, sunny with a heat advisory. Rome is 92 degrees Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, with a heat advisory. Kyiv is 76 and mostly cloudy. Kabul is 74 and partly cloudy. Hong Kong is 80 degrees and fair. Tokyo is 82 and partly cloudy. Sydney, Australia is 55 degrees with a rain shower. San Francisco, California is 60 degrees, mostly cloudy, with a small craft advisory on the bay. And New York, New York is 80 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. Frank Jordans of the Associated Press brings us this first amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Water levels on the Rhine River could reach a critically low point in the coming days, making it increasingly difficult to transport goods, including coal and gasoline, as drought and an energy crisis grips Europe. Weeks of dry weather have turned several of Europe's major waterways into trickles, posing a headache for German factories and power plants that rely on deliveries by ship and making an economic slowdown even more likely. Transporting goods by inland waterways is more important in Germany than in many other Western European countries. This is particularly the case of the Rhine, whose nautical bottleneck at Kaub has very low water levels, but which remains navigable for ships with small drafts, said Tim Alexandrin, a spokesman for Germany's Transport Ministry. Authorities predict that water levels at Kaub will dip below the mark of 16 inches early Friday and keep falling over the weekend. The situation is quite dramatic, but not as dramatic yet as in 2018, said Christian Lorenz, a spokesman for the German logistics company HGK. From France and Italy, Europe is struggling with dry spells, shrinking waterways, and heat waves that are becoming more severe and frequent because of climate change. Low water levels are another blow for industry in Germany, which is struggling with shrinking flows of natural gas that have sent prices surging.
Je te donne ce mon amour pour la vie entière, la promesse de me trouver à tes genoux. Aussitôt que tu m'appelles, rester toujours fidèle, c'est tout, c'est tout. Je te donne tous mes printemps, mes étés de mer, mes automnes quand les feuilles tombent partout. Si ce n'est pas une bonne affaire, je te donne tous mes hivers.
Jan M. Olson of the Associated Press brings us this final amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy Metro Shrimp and Grits Thursdays. The leaders of Estonia and Finland want fellow European countries to stop issuing tourist visas to Russian citizens, saying they should not be able to take vacations in Europe while the Russian government carries out a war in Ukraine. Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas wrote on Twitter that visiting Europe is a privilege, not a human right, and that it is time to end tourism from Russia now. A day earlier, her counterpart in Finland, Sanna Marin, told Finnish broadcaster YLE that it is not right that while Russia is waging an aggressive, brutal war of aggression, Russians can live a normal life, travel in Europe, be tourists. Ukrainian President Zelensky went further in a Washington Post interview, saying all Western countries should ban Russian tourists. Estonia and Finland both border Russia and are members of the EU, which banned air travel from Russia after it invaded Ukraine. But Russians can still travel by land to both countries and apparently are then taking flights to other European destinations. Well, that brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day, but you do know Netroots Radio broadcasts on, and we will meet up here tomorrow for, you got it, Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. So do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day and all night for all the breaking news as it breaks, and we will meet up here tomorrow, right here in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. À fleurs sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte Goël. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je veux déjeuner par terre, comme au long de golfe clair. T'embrasser les yeux ouverts dans mon jardin d'hiver. Pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver.